Light has a way of finding us in the warmth of the sun, in the stillness of early morning, a quiet moment with God. And in those quiet moments, something stirs, that ache, that question. Why do I feel so disconnected? Lost, confused. Perhaps feeling lost is the soul asking for more. More honesty, more rest, more truth. What if you're not lost at all? What if you're being led? Not backward, not to who you used to be, but forward, toward the version of you that's been waiting to rise. And maybe this is the moment you start listening to her, not to the world, not to the fear, but to the quiet knowing within. You're not broken, you're becoming. In this video, I'm going to share how I was able to create my dream life and reconnect to myself after feeling lost. So if you're watching this video, you are probably feeling a little unsure of your next steps, or maybe you feel lost or disconnected with your vision, with yourself, and you want to feel more fulfilled, more excited, more joyful. Hi, my name is Karla. I'm a personal growth and courage coach for women who really want to embody their true selves, who want to be more confident, and who want to live a life with intention and go after the life that they desire. Back in the summer of 2018, I lost my dream job. I had gone to school for journalism and television production, and I always wanted to work in Hollywood and entertainment. I finally moved to Los Angeles to pursue my career in Hollywood. And so I was gone for 8 years. That really became my identity, the girl who left her hometown to pursue Hollywood. And so that felt pretty cool. And when I wasn't that person anymore, I'm like, who am I? Mind you, I had always been someone who valued personal growth. And so it's not like I wasn't focused on who I wanted to become. I always had that desire of becoming the best version of myself. But in the last few years, I was so focused on my career and moving from being an assistant to having this high title that's all I really had my mind set on. And when I lost it, it was a bit devastating, but I, again, had always been someone who's like, okay, how can I create positive change? So I called my mom and I was like, can I move back home? That was the start of creating my dream life. I made a decision to move back home at the age of 28 years old and start a business. I started a social media management business. And here is what happened. I felt overwhelmed. I did not have clarity on what I wanted. I knew that I wanted to go back home and that I wanted to start a business, but there wasn't a big reason why. And I just started going back to patterns of hustling, right? And just doing. I got to this point where I hit a plateau and I was just always in work mode. That's all I could think about. And so because of that, I needed distraction. And I started online dating and just self-sabotaging and getting into these situationships. And I was also trying to find myself spiritually. I was going through a lot of change. I was going through career change. I was going through spiritual change and questioning. I was going through relationships and trying to discover myself in just as a woman. I got to a point where I completely lost myself. I was no longer living in alignment to my values, and I just didn't know who I was, and I was crossing boundaries, and I honestly had no idea what I wanted for my life. And so I knew that I needed to create change. And instead of focusing on everything that was supposedly going wrong, I started asking myself, what is going right? And mind you, this wasn't the shift that completely changed my life, but it was the start. What is going right? I get to live with my mom now and build my relationship with her and create memories that I probably won't ever create again. I got to start my own business and I work for myself. I am connecting with my spiritual beliefs and figuring it out, and how cool it is that I'm giving myself the opportunity to do that and to learn and to question. And so everything started becoming less heavy, right? When I started asking what is going right. This was reframing my mindset. I started asking myself, who do I want to be mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually? So think about where you're at right now, right? Almost draw this imaginary line through a paper and where are you at right now? Who do you want to become? How does that person show up mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually? So that's 2, right? Number 1 is reframe your mindset. Ask yourself, what is going right? 2 is who do you want to become in those areas, right? Mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and physically. The practice that completely changed my life and helped me go from lost and confused to completely fulfilled, at peace, balanced, and joyful was this practice called Ho'oponopono. Every day I would listen to this Ho'oponopono meditation, and what I needed to do was forgive myself. Forgiving yourself is letting go. It's about recognizing that, yes, maybe you were hurt, or yes, maybe you made a mistake, right? But how can you let that go? How can you extend compassion to yourself and to those who may have hurt you? I had crossed a lot of personal boundaries that I did not feel, proud of, and I was carrying a lot of shame around them, specifically in regards to like relationships and dating. And so I was carrying this like big cross that I did not need to carry. And I started repeating these phrases. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. So imagine saying this to yourself. If you feel lost, if you may not be feeling confident, if you felt like you self-sabotage, or maybe you made the wrong choices in your life and you're trying to course correct, right? Imagine every day telling yourself like, I'm sorry. By saying I'm sorry, you're taking full responsibility. You are acknowledging the mistakes you made, and you are showcasing a desire to change. By saying thank you to yourself, you are acknowledging how grateful you are. You're acknowledging the good in your life. So it goes back to what's going right in my life, right? Please forgive me is wanting to mend your relationship with yourself. Really forgiving ourselves for maybe not going after the dream that you've been putting off, right? Procrastinating, maybe not losing the weight that you've been wanting to, getting in the wrong relationships, like whatever it is that you need to forgive yourself, it is for you to mend your relationship with yourself and continue on a path of, okay, I am ready to embody the person that I want to be. Gratitude. Gratitude, I know you hear it all the time. I'm sure you have. Write 3 things that you're grateful for, right? But let's take it up a notch. So what I did with gratitude was not only would I write what I was grateful for, but I remember doing this. This is in like 2019. I wrote that I was grateful for a friend who was like essentially like a mentor to me. And I was so grateful to have her in my life. And I remember I wrote her and her husband a thank you letter. And I gave them a little gift and I left it at their doorstep. Anytime that I was grateful about something or about someone, I would almost like pass that gift of gratitude, right? So just like little fun ways of almost like life and God have blessed you with all these things you're grateful for. So how are you going to pass that on to the world? Movement. That is a big thing that changed my life when I was just in that like stuck energy. I would pretend that I am an interpretive dancer and really feel my body moving. And it was so fun. You may look crazy by doing this, but I promise you, if you allow yourself to dance for 5 minutes and just feel like a dancing queen, your energy is just gonna completely shift. So movement is huge. Specifically dancing is what helped me release like negative emotions that were stuck in my body, that were making me feel like I wasn't good enough, like I wasn't worthy. There are other ways that you can move. You can run, you can go on a 20-minute walk, you can hike. Dancing was just what I needed at the time when I was practicing like movement in a way that was like fully embodying the woman that I wanted to be. Just like this woman who was confident and loved her body, didn't carry shame around. Like that was dance, because dance could bring a little bit of shame sometimes, like, oh, am I being awkward? I'm not a good dancer, right? So I chose dance to let go of shame, to let go of those negative emotions that were stuck in my body. You might have heard of scripting. I had never heard of scripting before, and this is not, I didn't know that I was essentially doing this, but mine's a little bit different. I am Christian, so if you're watching this, I respect everyone's model of the world. You know, as long as you are kind and you are doing good for the world and for others, I hope you can stick around and know that I am just here to share my experiences and hopefully help you live a more courageous life. So the way that I would do scripting is I would write a letter to God. And so I would be like, dear God, I call God Jehovah. So I'd be like, dear Jehovah, thank you so much. List out what I was thankful for. And then I would ask him what I wanted, right? Dear God, I'm asking you for this, right? And I'd pray about it and I'd write it, and it was very specific. At times I would switch to like, I have a loving husband and a healthy son
a bouncy baby boy. I actually have a baby boy. He's sleeping right now, and I'm surprised he's letting me film this video because he was crying not too long ago. But I would just get very specific on the life that I wanted. Over the years, I've changed the way that I do it. I started off with gratitude, then I go into the prayer, and then I go into the belief. Like I am, essentially like more of the affirmation. When it comes to visualization, right? Oftentimes you hear create a vision board, right? And this is something I've done for years. Since I was 17, I have like my first vision board I ever created. But in order to create a vision, you also need to understand that, like you need to know that vision. Like I've worked with so many clients as a coach where they're like, I can't visualize. And so I take them through a visualization meditation where I take them into the future and really imagine who is the person that they want to become. So I have them ask their future self a question, and based on that question, they know what it is that they want. So I remember asking my future self, like, are you happy? And she said, I am happy because I have a loving husband and a loving son. And just saying that's gonna make me cry because I recently just had a little baby boy. Visualization. Yes, so visualization, I envisioned the life that I wanted. This is one of my favorite things that I did. It almost felt like a detox of people, of humans. That sounds crazy. When I got certified as a coach, I met like incredible people who were very like-minded, and I remember at the time I felt very drained, and this one coach was like, have you ever like tracked who it is that you spend your time with? And I'm like, that's kind of weird. Like, I'm not gonna sit next to Sally and be like, Sally drained me today. But it actually made so much sense to do this. But anytime I would hang out with somebody, I would write down their name, and then I would write, did they fill my cup? Did they drain me? Or was it neutral? And if it was neutral, why? Maybe we don't have the greatest conversations. Maybe the relationship's stagnant. I started noticing, like, who are the people that I truly love surrounding myself with? What are some of those qualities that, like, of the people who fill me up, what did I say as to why they filled my cup, right? Like, what qualities did I mention? And what qualities in myself were they able to bring out? Next is finding your purpose. Oftentimes people think purpose equals job title. Purpose is actually how you are service to others. And so when I started discovering, like, what is my purpose? Before I was like, I don't know, like, I honestly did not know, and that actually getting clear on my purpose is what brought me closer to myself. I started asking myself, when did I feel most fulfilled, at peace, joyful, and like myself? So what I advise for you to do is take yourself back to certain monumental moments in your life. Go back to an event. So for me, for example, I went back to the time I was a producer, and yes, I loved creating content, but when I felt most fulfilled and like joyful was my baby's in the background grunting. When I felt most fulfilled and joyful was when I was having conversations with people that like, and I was able to help them bring out their light and their authenticity. I could see that they were just like, they had opened the doors of like who they truly were, and I was able to help them be that person, be their truest selves. And all these experts are going to tell you to have like a purpose statement. This is where I would get stressed out, because I'm like, my purpose is to help people be their most authentic selves. And like, it felt just so robotic, but just understand that your purpose could be bigger than yourself. Like, your purpose is connected to the divine, to God. He made you with so much purpose, and there are so many reasons why you were put on this earth. But if you can identify like these certain elements, like for me, it's like when I help people like bring out their light, when they're able to be their most authentic selves with me, when I'm able to like motivate people to like step into their courage. Maybe someone talked to me and they're like, you know, I'm afraid to love and be in a relationship, and I encourage them, and like suddenly they met the love of their life, you know, a few months later. Like, that brings me so much joy when I'm able to like give that person that push and help them like see themselves. Again, that's not a statement. That's just like, I know how I feel when I'm living in my purpose. So I really want you to understand, like, what is that feeling that I get? And in order to do that, you have to go back to the past. So going back to the past does not have to be a bad thing. Go back to the past and remind yourself, when did I feel most fulfilled and most at peace and or joyful? Next, I got clear on my values. So in order to understand what your values are, they are like your guiding compass, right? They guide your decisions. I have different values for like each area of my life. So for example, For relationship, my number one value is respect. Now, for my overall life, my number one value is peace. In my relationship, respect is important. And I do my best to respect my husband and to do things that are going to respect our relationship, are going to respect him, are going to respect our family. And there are times where the other day, like I threw a little like spice at him. I'm Latina, so I was like, he did this, I'm gonna do this. And I felt so bad after I did it. I mean, look, I'm human, but I also don't want to use that excuse because I know that respect is my number one value. And so I apologized to him the next day and I was like, look, I don't want to be, even if it was in a joking way, like I felt like we were being rude to each other, and like respect is so important. He acknowledged that. We made peace, we had lunch together, everything was great. So respect is number one in my relationship. Now, peace is like my overall value in my life. How do you find your values? Ask yourself, what is most important to me in life? You could do the full life, or you can get specific. What is most important to me in relationship? Or what is most important to me in a career? You're gonna start noticing, you're gonna say like joy, fun, creativity, fulfillment. I want you to pick your top 3 values that appear for each area of your life and start living in alignment to those values. So if you value peace, maybe you start your day off with meditation or prayer or going on a walk or whatever spiritual practice is going to lead you to peace and to calm. Lastly, surrender. So you know what it is that you want because you know your vision, you know what you value, you have forgiven yourself, you are ready to become the person that you are, and maybe you're already that person. You have become the person that you've always wanted to be. And you're doing all of this, everything in this video, you're taking action, you're going after your goals, you're doing the thing, right? You have the routines, you're waking up every morning, making your green shake, whatever, but you don't have the relationship yet, or you don't have the dream job, or you don't have the family or the dream car or whatever it is. I want you to let go of control. I want you to trust that what is meant for you will be yours. When you trust the process and you focus on the now, okay, I'm going to continue to become the person that I am. I'm going to do the practices that person that I want to be is doing. Like I'm embodying that person, I'm taking action, I'm all the things, right? Trust this person. Trust this person. Trust your creator, trust God that what will be yours is on its way. And to end this video, if you gain any results, if you started doing the practice of Ho'oponopono and you started truly forgiving yourself and you realize that you're no longer doing negative self-talk anymore or getting stuck in shame, celebrate that. Celebrate even the small results that are leading you to your desired outcome, to the person you want to be, to the life that you want to have, and don't cut yourself short. Hi, little grunter. I have a guest now because he started to grunt. If you are a woman who desires more for her life and wants to step into her courage and be her truest self and live the life that she truly desires with intention, then be sure to subscribe to my channel. Bye. Bye, baby.